from the All Indiana Podcast Network. It's Diversity Focus Today, a weekly discussion bringing awareness to cultural diversity in greater Indianapolis and surrounding areas. Now, here's your host, Rickie Solid Gold Clark.
And welcome once again to another edition of Diversity Focus Today. I am your host today, of course, Rickie Solid Gold Clark, along with my co-host, attorney Michael Murray, and Dr. T. I call her Dr. T, but it's Dr. Tammy Harris. I'm trying to get used to the full name, although I like Dr. T better than that.
Feel free. And Mike, I'm sorry, Murray.
Right.
Yes.
We had a history on that, but it's Murray.
We have a lot to discuss tonight, at midnight, whatever time you're watching or listening to us. Mike, I'm going to give you the floor because during our pre-conference call that we have a day or two before that we tape, you brought up an interesting topic as to what happened to you in the 5th grade.
Okay, we're going to get into some history here.
A little history.
Well, actually, Rickie, it started because I was listening to the news and reading the news, and I saw a CNN poll that said that President Trump's attack on the Iranian nuclear sites is wildly unpopular with Americans. And so that made me think about this thing that occurred in 5th grade. I was in the 5th grade back around the bicentennial celebration for the United States. And my teacher at the time, Mrs. Riley, Elizabeth Riley, she had this saying. She said, "My country, right or wrong." And so the idea behind that is, it's patriotism. Whatever your country does, right or wrong, you support your country. So I'm thinking about this in terms of this CNN poll, and I wonder how people felt about that. Is that true? Do you support your country, whether your country is acting right or acting wrong? What do you think about that, Rickie?
Well, in my opinion, if the country is acting right or wrong, then it's either because of the person at the top is acting right or wrong. And in this particular case, in 2025, the person at the top is acting wrong all the time. He's acting wrong all the time. So I would have to go, I don't know which well, I wouldn't go with the leader of our country, so I would go with what the history says and dealing in democracy. So that's me on that tip. That's my clip, and I'm sticking to it.
Dr. T?
I would say pretty much what Rickie said, just follow the basics. Go back to the Constitution and our democracy and what it stands for. But at the same time, our democracy, just because this is a law, doesn't mean it was right. And I'll kind of refer to it before about slavery. Just because it was law, just because it was Jim Crow, didn't make it right, and people follow through with those norms and values, et cetera, based on the law. So, and a lot of things probably wouldn't be where they are today if people didn't oppose to what was considered right. Yeah. So I'm always kind of in that gray then area of right and wrong, where I hear both sides, and it comes down to basically my own upbringing. I didn't grow up in your area necessarily, a little bit after, not far.
She just called me old.
That's in your era. I don't want to call myself. What is old? When does that start?
Mike and I.
My opinion.
That's what's old.
I don't know what old starts. I don't know. The older I get, I'm feeling younger. I always say I'm 3 years old. That's if that put any context to it. I'm like Benjamin Buttons. I age backwards. But people never know how. But anyway, it's not about me. It's about right or wrong of the United States. But pretty much, it's just it's unfortunate that our democracy led to a leader that's wrong in all aspects of not following the Constitution, wanting to be victorious and powerful. But we still have a group of people, that's the majority, that could change, that. Okay. And I think that's what comes out in the polls of our democracy. Not making it right or wrong, it's just educating yourself, knowing your own history, and kind of following through with your gut. kind of what's right and wrong. So,
Yeah.
but I wonder what your teacher. So if you were in fifth grade, what background was she coming from?
Well, I don't really know. I was fifth grade. In the
Yeah.
fifth grade, your teachers are that Charlie Brown wah
Well,
wah.
oh,
You know, so
right,
I don't really know.
right.
I know Mrs. Riley was an excellent teacher. I remember
So
that.
you remember her name?
Yeah,
though.
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I remember my first grade teachers. And
Absolutely.
Stuff, so.
But you know, for me, that whole question, my country right or wrong, I really wrestled with that because you know I'm a veteran. I proudly served in the Air Force. Absolutely. But as I think about where we are today, I honestly don't know if I would have done it had I known that the country could be where we are today.
Okay.
Rolling back, you know, rights for people. I don't necessarily agree with everybody's life choices, but if they're not hurting other people, you know, who am I to tell them how to live?
Right.
But we seem to be rolling back rights for people of color, people in the LGBTQ plus.
Yes.
You know,
Disabilities,
disability.
seniors.
Yeah, you know, we're rolling back a lot of rights for people,
Yes.
and we're conducting ourselves, and I think, in a very uncivil way, uncivil way. We're talking about shithole countries. Can I say that?
You just did. So.
Alan, good.
We're telling our allies that they need to be our 51st state. We're talking about the use of force to take back the Panama Canal, to take over Greenland because we want that. We are sowing chaos. And so I don't honestly think I could take an oath to support that kind of behavior.
Right.
But
Right.
in the sense that, you know, my mother lives here.
Right. What are you gonna do?
I got to protect my country.
Yes.
But I don't support those kinds of boorish
Ideologies,
behaviors
yeah.
that some at the top of our national government have put out there.
Okay.
And I'm not a person to say never that person can never possibly do something right. I maintain the possibility that he might. But I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet.
Right.
So for me, you know, my country, right or wrong, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. And I suppose it depends on nuance. You know, how do you define my country?
And that's what I was just
Yeah.
thinking in my head. I was like, when you think about country, what about America? Have we been defined as a country?
Yeah. And
With so many diverse
Right.
immigrations and immigrants here that made us who we
well,
are.
and you know, does supporting your country mean supporting the person occupying the White House? Does it mean supporting and subscribing to all of the policy initiatives that person or the party in power puts out
Okay.
there? Or does that mean something broader? There are 77.5 million people that supported that kind of ideology that says it's okay to grab women by their privates. It's okay
like they
to
didn't
defy
know,
the
right.
law. You know, 77.5 million Americans supported that. But that means there are, you know, 70 odd million Americans who did not support that.
At
And
least
certainly-
79 million that did
Yeah,
not support
certainly
that.
those-
And then some in
folks.
between that didn't vote at
Yes.
all.
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
now either switched over or decided or
Right.
have you not.
Yeah.
So,
Right. And, you know, I feel a little funny sometimes saying that stuff because I am not a partisan. You know, I am not a person who is this member of this political party, I believe, you know, toe down the line, or he's that party, and I believe, you know, everything down that line.
Right.
I'm an issues guy.
Right.
So let's talk about where we stand on these particular issues. But what I'm seeing right now, I don't support that.
Okay. Well, you know what? If you got some ideas and comments, let's go to our Facebook if you want to comment on what we're talking about at this particular time. It's this Diversity Focus Today on Facebook, and then you could put your comments in there, and we would love to have them, because I've got some people have utilized the Facebook, so we're going to talk about
Yay.
that during this show or either the next show. So
Yeah, and let me put in a plug. I really hope anybody that's watching or listening to this really does go to the Facebook page and put in some comments, because I really want to know what people think about that.
yeah, well, that would be good.
Right. We
I
got
really
tough
wanna
skin,
know.
as we say, right?
Mhm,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
we're hopefully representing a variety of voices and people and representation of values. So, yeah.
Well, and I'm listening to a book on audio too that's kind of bringing back some of this stuff for me too. And for World War II, I remember reading about the calculation of the Japanese in World War II was that the black man would not fight for the United States because of all of the Jim Crow, all of the civil rights era issues that were going on back at that time. And so for people like that, is it different if you're white American versus a black American versus a Japanese American, Hispanic American, maybe Latin American in this day and age is even a more apt comparison, considering what's going on with some
somebody
of this
just got
immigration.
deported, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just served, had Purple Heart. I forgot the gentleman's name.
There
but
was a gentleman was arrested and kind of roughly detained by ICE agents, and his sons are all U.S. Marines.
Right.
And they knocked this guy down and
because he was on his
twisted
job doing his landscaping.
And punched him while he was
Punched
down,
him when he
kicked
was
him. I
down.
mean, totally being brutal, which is not what one should be doing if you're in any form of law enforcement, whether it's ICE, the police,
Yeah, Mr.
state,
Policeman.
FBI. Yeah, I mean, you just don't do that. And I'm hoping that maybe they might, because if that could lead to some legal action, because he was certainly being violated.
Sure,
You know.
absolutely. And I can hear it now. People are going to say, well, he was in the country illegally and et cetera. And that may be true. He may have committed that offense, but that does not justify brutality. It
Not a
doesn't-
beat down, no.
Exactly.
It
But they
does
said
not.
that he was coming at him with the clipper or
We saw.
something.
I saw the
Weed
clip.
But he
whacker,
was
yeah.
running.
He's running,
He's
trying to get
running
up. I
away.
mean, these guys jump out of a car. First of all, you don't know who they are because
Right.
they got these masks on,
Right.
and
Right.
you can't tell. And there have been reports that folks that are not part of ICE, that may be part of Trump's, the folks that were
Proud
in,
Boy type of thing.
yeah,
Is that-
Proud Boy that are part of this. And so, anybody, if somebody jump out of a car and start chasing you, it's like, what the hell?
And you're on your job.
And you either gonna fight back or run or do something. You ain't gonna
Right.
stand there
And
Right.
and
get
let
beaten.
them get
Right.
beaten.
Right.
I
Right.
know. And then,
Right. And you didn't do nothing wrong. You don't have any, you can get up, go to work that day. And I believe his
See?
son even said, before you come get me, go finish my job.
Yeah.
He had that work ethic.
Well, see, they've been very, very lucky, ICE agents, because they've jumped out and they've done this. You jump out on the wrong folks, and you come in my neighborhood that I grew up with, you're going to catch some lead. You're going to catch some lead
I don't
coming
know.
after you.
It was in I don't know if it was California somewhere. They went into a barber shop and
Yeah.
tried to get somebody in ICE. And they said, "You don't have warrant. Get out of here." All the community came, "Get out,
Yeah.
get out." And they pushed them out, and they were like. But they did. They confronted. Wrong shop here. You ain't coming in our
No, you
shop.
can't.
Get out of here. Get out of here. And they made them leave. The ICE agents leave. I think it was in California.
Could have been that.
That barber shop they went into trying to just harass and look for people.
And
They
did
also-
that at the stadium.
Yeah,
too, right?
and
They
they all
wouldn't let 'em
boycotted
in
that.
there.
But then they said that wasn't ICE.
Oh, well, yeah,
They
right.
said that wasn't ICE agents, and then they said, well, it was something else. But yeah,
Sure.
they barricaded that too. It was
And
like-
fat meat ain't greasy either. So we know how that works too. So, they also got put out of a hotel thanks to the folks complaining and protesting out. If you own a hotel, you got some ICE agents in there staying, and maybe that's like 2% of your guests. You don't want the rest of your guests trying to leave
Right.
because of what's going on outside.
Right.
Most of them probably did not know there were ICE agents staying there. So, they ended up having the hotel like, you got to go. You like, it's just a few of y'all. We got, y'all got to
Right.
go. Goodbye.
So
Well, I
that's our
saw-
rights for private citizens and places to say, hey, ICE,
Yeah.
get out, because they're not legally, are they? I still don't know what they're.
Any independent business such
They're
as that
independent of government.
can
Right.
put them out.
Okay, so
Period.
we'll let that be known, right?
Yes. Just like you said at the barbershop. You
Right.
ain't got no, goodbye. Get the heck out of here. No, 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 no.
Well, I
They don't
saw
have
a
all
post
that.
on Threads this morning that talked about the ICE agents and maybe FBI agents wearing masks, and they said, well, if you have to wear a mask to enforce the law,
Yeah.
then you don't deserve a badge.
You sure don't. You don't.
It certainly raises some questions about, strong arm men, governments, dictator governments using secret police forces that kick in the door
Exactly,
at night
that's
and
what's
abscond
going on
with people.
there.
But I don't think it's so broad as to say people are against law enforcement agents.
No, it's not that.
I
It just
certainly am
construes
not.
it, though.
But I am concerned about the tactics that these folks use, appear to use, in the name of enforcing the law.
You know what? You could not go into anybody's bank or credit union with a mask on and expect to not get the police call on you or not having you leave. You're going to scare the customers, the employees, and everything else. So why can you put masks on just to round up folks? Any financial institution, churches. I mean,
school.
come on, you got a mask on. Look, you're there for no good. Whatever your plans are, you're there for no good, as what happened in the different situations with, what ICE has been doing and getting away with it. So
I wonder how much we're not hearing. What's going unseen and unheard.
Well, I'm not sure on that.
It's just, I mean,
But anyway.
before it's bringing light to them, but who's really, how, out of all the people they got, who's actually been saved, who's being back really a criminal, who's been saved, it's like I still don't even know what they do once they get them. What happens once they are captured or beat? What's going to happen to them? Where are they? I
Should have
know.
a court case, but,
But
the
that didn't happen
judges-
with the other ones.
Yeah, they just
So
being
I'm just like,
deported
what-
without their rights.
Florida
being-
have Alligator Valley. Did you see that?
I did see that, yeah.
They
Alligator.
said-
Okay, what's
They're
that? I missed that one.
Alligator detention or something
Yeah, they're
like
going to
that.
start putting detainees that they get from ICE in these mobile home type of
They're
things.
detention camps built in the Florida Everglades.
Yes, with
that
the
they
worst
are,
place conditions. at
Yeah,
that.
that they're planning to
Okay.
house detainees in mobile home type structures in
Right.
the middle of the
Inhumane.
Everglades.
That's
right,
inhumane,
and privatized. So we
inhumane.
don't know. They just building a whole row of these like mobile home type of things.
That's inhumane.
And that's where they're going to
inhumane.
store them.
But Dr. T, you said something about you wonder what we're not hearing
Right.
about it. And I think that's really a good point that people need to always keep in mind when you're hearing these clips from our politicians or even seeing things on the news or reading them on social media. You're getting part of the story. And so you really have to be careful about forming an opinion based on these little pieces and clips. And it kind of goes back to something that we've said before, which is you've got to be informed. You may hear about an incident from one of these sources, see it on the news, see it in social media, but you really do need to go and investigate facts for yourself and figure out what the operative true facts are before you start reaching some conclusions about things. And it works either way. I mean, if you're critical of the law enforcement agents or critical of the government or critical of, the people who are accused of violating the law or being illegals or whatever, you really can't make a lot of assumptions and be fully right until you know what the facts are.
Exactly. Hence, too, when you look, what I do when I look at Facebook and different areas of like the posts or threads, I look at the comments.
Yeah.
Because everybody's opinion is coming from different places and different perspectives. And sometimes you'll see in there, well, that's my brother, you don't know. Or
right,
this
right,
is so-and-so my neighbor. So sometimes reading the person's views and comments within the story kind of gives you a little, then what I'll do, because I'm researched. I'll read the comments, say, well, they said that they brother, and I'll follow that thread. So I try to go a little bit deeper too, not necessarily just say I got to follow every story, but just when I
Sure.
still have that kind of, well, why or how, and then it seems like it'll just go away out of the news. And I'll still be trying to follow things that they just kind of, okay, next headline. It's exhausting to just get all that stuff. So yeah, I agree with everything you just said about just wondering where the source is. You know, even when you hear it, like when Trump posts his source, tweet, and he was posting like saying something. I was like, isn't he at NATO right now? Is he under the desk typing this tweet right now? Yes, he's the source, he's the president, but when it trickles down in news media, it's saying different kind of headways.
Okay.
That's a good way to say it. Like, yeah, he said it, but it's construed in different kind of ways when you read it in headlines.
Yeah, and now I have to say something because you said Donald Trump's the president and he's the source
Of his own mouth. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, in fact.
The man, we talked about in one of our pre-conferences, we talked about the trust factor too.
Yes.
A lot of this stuff
There
going
we
on.
go.
But
Right.
I often wonder, why in the heck does anybody ever believe anything that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth?
Exactly.
I mean, demonstrably, he had something like 30,000 lies that he told during his first administration. And when somebody shows a proclivity to lie like that without even a second thought about the propriety of lying to the American public, no matter what you're lying about,
Right.
I mean, geez. Why would anybody ever
Believe
believe
what
that?
you say.
I just don't understand it. You always have seen, doubt of the government and doubt of, whoever's in power.
Right.
But this is something that is extra
Right.
because he does not care about telling the truth. Truth is inconvenient for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was the one, I think, came up with the alternative facts,
And what's the name of his website? His Truth Social.
True social.
What kind of name is that? When the actual
Spin.
But
Yeah,
that's what I'm
spin.
saying, that he's playing off media. I mean,
He's a media guy.
person.
He's a
and-
salesperson.
Right. And
Yeah.
honestly, very first season, maybe the second season of Apprentice, I really appreciated. And I thought, ooh, who is this guy? But then when it had that one season where he had the one black gentleman that had the tie, well, can y'all both be leader? He was like, no. Shoot, you remember the episode?
Yeah, I
He had
remember
the
that
pig
episode.
between-
Watched the
I was
show
like, why
much.
would
Yes.
he do that? He was obviously the best candidate and won.
And he won,
But
fair
right
and square.
before he was going to present the winner, Trump said, well, you want to share with old girl, the other lady. And he
said
was
no.
like, no.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, I think it was like the third season, I was like, nah. But earlier on, it seemed authentic. It seemed like he tied it into charity. It was a whole different type of person because I really didn't know Trump for Trump.
Yeah.
But I did, and I admit, the first maybe 2 seasons of Apprentice, it was different. And I was like, oh, okay, and I was watching it. But then when that particular episode of season, and then the Omarosa happened, I was like, yeah. He can't, I saw it. I saw the racism just in that episode.
I
there.
didn't watch the show when it was on, and I never really liked him, the media personality, because, and I know it was TV, and you got to get ratings for TV, but the joy that he took in "You're fired," the joy he took in.
But that
being,
came kind of later.
yeah, but
I think
there's a
that
lo-
kind of built into the
Yeah.
hype
But
because
this-
I didn't get that the first. It was interesting, but I think it hyped on it. And then when he wanted to patent, you're fired. Everybody.
just the,
You know?
the joy that he took
Yeah.
in being obnoxious to people turned me off.
Yeah.
Well,
The incivility.
And I think that came honestly. I think that first two, it was like okay, business, but you didn't know what to expect. But then it got kind of overinflated.
yeah.
His
Well,
ego.
even before that, him and his father has that history because they were sued
See, I didn't even know all that. prior. Yeah.
because they were discriminating against
The
those in the housing industry, the housing that they had and so on, what have you. They were discriminating, so they were sued. Both state and federal government sued them for that. So he had history, and of course, him and his dad
The
lost.
Fab
They had-
Five
yeah.
and all that.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
didn't, but I
Fab
didn't,
Five
see, that's
was-
what I'm saying. We didn't even really know. 'Cause
Well, I knew.
wasn't-
I followed
yeah.
that, but he
Yeah.
putting a full page in every
Right.
newspaper
Yeah.
up there. Well, they're guilty.
Yeah.
Before they even went to court, of course, they were
Exonerated.
Exonerated.
And they
So-
sued. They tried to
Yeah,
sue because he
well-
still keep saying that they didn't. do
Yeah, I
it,
think they
even
sued. I don't know how much money they may have got, but he's notorious for. He still
Yeah.
owes for what $84 million for allegedly. Well, no, that wasn't alleged because she
he's-
proved that
yeah.
happened for raping.
The lady at the store.
Yeah, And so
he tried to have.
I think it was sexual assault.
Sexual
not
assault.
rape.
Yeah,
and,
okay.
Legal
Well.
nuances, but they make a difference.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, the mere fact that he was, and like you said, you know, the grabbing of the female crotch, I guess you could call it, and that's just what we know. There's been other reports and things that people have brought up that he's done that has not surfaced yet, or surfaced, and he was able to put a lid on it,
Right.
you know. But we got 3.5 years, folks, of this, unless we at
House,
midterms
all the seats
we can
are ready.
Yeah, we
for
can
House.
if we can win, if the Democrats can win a majority in both the House and the Senate in the midterms, then it might be a different ballgame, because you know they're going to attempt to impeach him. And if they've got all the basically the folks that can do that, but you got to have, first of all, you got to vote, and then the Democrats have to
Register.
Yeah, well, you got to register to vote. So, and they're going to come up with all
think.
kind of cockamamie things to do what they can. So
They've been doing that, trying to
Yeah.
limit people's ability to
Oh
vote.
yeah, this lady.
Exactly.
Yeah. Had her whole
So,
story about
you know,
that, too.
I happened to watch news, and I think it was one of the stations, might have been the station that we're on here. Anyway, Loeffler, I can't remember her first name, but anyway, she was a former senator in Georgia, and she also was the owner of their WNBA, or maybe it was their NFL team, one of the major league teams down there, and she had mistreated team members and staff and the whole 9 yards. So she lost that election, and then I can't remember which league it was, actually kicked her out because of what she was doing, you know. Now, he made her in charge of the Small Business Administration. She was just in Indianapolis yesterday, of course, when this airs, a few days ago. And I'm thinking, when I saw her, I said, wait a minute, she was dishonored in the sports world because of what she was doing to her staff and her players. She was a senator, she lost that, and now you made her in charge of the SBA. That's amazing. So anyway, we got 1 minute to go before the end of our program on this segment. So
I guess next time we'll speak on our questions and comments.
yes, we'll do
which
the
you can
questions and
find
comments
us-
last time.
Find us on.
We had to dissect
Diversity Focus
Mike's
Today.
5th grade experience.
Yes, I appreciate that though, because now, growing up, we have a whole new generation out there that's going to know different. They're far removed in the now. So, like I said, I had my 5-year-old great niece come, and I've been trying to mold her,
Educated.
educate her. Yeah.
All right. Don't forget now, if you got questions, comments, go to Diversity Focus Today on Facebook. Put your questions and comments there. We would love to be able to read them on the program.
And YouTube.
And YouTube. We're
and
on
all
YouTube.
Indiana podcasts.
All Indiana
All Wish
Podcasts,
TV.
you'll find us.
Yep.
And on Channel 8 on Sunday morning at 2 in the a.m. for those at late night. And then, of course, we have Facebook, YouTube, and it's time for us to go. Thank you so much for
you so
watching.
much.
We'll see you next time on Diversity Focus Today.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This is Diversity Focus Today with Rickie Solid Gold Clark. Watch Sundays at 1:30 a.m. on Wish TV. Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast and check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Online now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.